Here is something that might surprise you. The United Kingdom officially left the European Union on the 31st of January 2020, yet more than 6 years later, the people of Britain and the people of Europe remain almost indistinguishable in the ways that matter most to everyday life. Politicians drew a hard line on the map, but they could not redraw human habits, shared history, or 1,000 years of cultural exchange. The truth is that a Briton from Manchester and a citizen from Lyon, Hamburg, or Milan share a remarkable amount, from the food on their plate to the values in their heart. In this video, we will look at the areas where UK and EU people show the greatest similarity, and why those bonds have proven far stronger than any political treaty. Let us start with the deepest similarity of all: values. Both the UK and the member states of the EU are built on the same foundations: parliamentary democracy, the rule of law, free elections, and a free press. Britain helped draft the European Convention on Human Rights back in 1950, and it remains a signatory today, completely separate from EU membership. Polls across the continent consistently show that Britons and Europeans rank the same priorities highly: fairness, individual freedom, gender equality, and tolerance. When the European Social Survey asks people what matters, the answers from Sheffield look strikingly like the answers from Stockholm or Seville. These are societies that punish corruption, protect minorities, and expect their governments to be accountable. That shared moral compass did not disappear when the UK changed its political status. Economically, the UK and the EU are like two neighbours who argued but still share a garden fence. Despite Brexit, the European Union remains by far Britain's largest trading partner. Roughly 4 in every 10 pounds of UK exports still go to the EU, and a similar share of imports flows the other way. The two economies are structured in very similar ways too. Both are dominated by services rather than manufacturing, with finance, technology, healthcare, and tourism leading the charge. London and Frankfurt compete as financial centers, but they run on the same logic. British and European workers also share comparable wages, consumer habits, and shopping patterns, which is why the same supermarket chains, car brands, and coffee shops thrive on both sides of the channel. If there is one passion that binds Britons and Europeans more tightly than any treaty, it is football. The sport was codified in England in 1863, then spread across the continent, and today it is the beating heart of leisure life in both regions. English clubs like Manchester City, Liverpool, and Arsenal compete every season in European competitions such as the Champions League, fielding players from Spain, France, Germany, Portugal, and beyond. A fan in Newcastle and a fan in Naples feel the same nerves before a big match, sing in the same stadiums, and follow the same transfer gossip. Beyond football, Britons and Europeans share a love of the same music, the same Hollywood and European films, and increasingly the same streaming series, watched on the very same platforms. Food tells a quiet but powerful story of similarity. Walk into a British home and you will likely find Italian pasta, French cheese, Spanish olive oil, and German lager, staples that have become utterly ordinary. The British high street is lined with the same names you find in Paris or Berlin, and the humble coffee culture that swept Britain in recent decades was borrowed directly from Italy. Both Britons and continental Europeans are enthusiastic wine and beer drinkers, both treat eating out as a social ritual, and both have embraced the same global food trends, from sushi to street food markets. Even the daily rhythm: a morning coffee, a quick lunch, a relaxed evening meal, looks much the same whether you are in Leeds or Lisbon. Geography quietly shapes how alike Britons and Europeans really are. The UK shares the temperate maritime climate of northwestern Europe. Mild, grey, and famously unpredictable, much like northern France, Belgium, and the Netherlands. That shared weather drives shared habits, the same love of a sunny bank holiday, the same indoor pub and cafe culture in winter. Around 80% of both UK and EU citizens now live in towns and cities, relying on similar public transport, similar housing pressures, and similar commutes. The architecture rhymes too, from medieval cathedrals to glass office towers. Britons and Europeans worry about the same urban problems: rising rents, congestion, and the cost of living, and increasingly demand the same green solutions. Look at the big picture, and Britain and Europe are facing the very same future. Both have aging populations, with birth rates well below the replacement level and a growing share of citizens over 65. That means both must wrestle with identical questions: how to fund pensions, how to staff hospitals, and how to care for the elderly. Both rely heavily on immigration to keep their economies running, and both are having the same fierce public debates about it. On the environment, The UK and the EU have committed to almost identical targets, each aiming for net zero carbon emissions by 2050. From energy security to artificial intelligence regulation, Britain and Europe keep arriving at remarkably similar answers because they are wrestling with remarkably similar problems. So, what is the takeaway? Politically, the UK and the EU went their separate ways. But culturally, socially, and economically, the people remain deeply intertwined. They share the same democratic values, the same service-driven economies, the same love of football, the same food on their tables, the same grey weather, and the same long-term challenges of an aging, urban, climate-conscious society. Travel between them never really stopped. Millions of Britons holiday in Europe every year, and Europeans flock to London. In the end, borders on a map are easy to draw, but the habits, tastes, and beliefs that people actually live by are far harder to separate. The UK and the EU may no longer share a flag, but they still share a way of life.